going on, Mark? I hear you have some exciting things to show me within Captivate.
We've got a brand new thing, actually an industry first, my friend. We've got a first ever podcast industry analytics migration tool. So the first genuine tool where you can move your entire analytics library across from any podcast host into Captivate. So this supersedes what was there before. There was only one or two out there in the past where you could simply type in a number that was a fairly arbitrary number, and it didn't give you any genuine analytics, it didn't give you any graphs, it didn't give you anything that was genuinely meaningful. So we've developed a way where you can take your entire podcast analytics download library, move that over to another host, which is huge because it democratizes the ability to choose the very best hosting platform for you and your show versus just being locked in because you've been with someone for such a long time. So I'm excited about this one. It's something that I wish I had a few years ago. So I'll give you a bit of a tire kick if you like, my friend. I'll show you around on this demonstration show, which could be quite interesting.
Yeah, 100%. So, and for anyone who's just quickly, before we go on to it specifically, like, a lot of times people don't change hosts, just like Mark said, because of that exact reason. They've just been stuck with one platform and they don't want to lose what they've built. And the tool that Mark's going to walk through and show you is showing you that you can very easily switch everything over, not lose anything, so you can truly make the right decision for you. So if you think that you want to take advantage of everything else that Captivate has to offer, now you're not losing any data that you might have lost in the past. So I just want to make that very, very clear. So go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, the big crux of this is as well that you can interrogate that data alongside your ongoing analytics. So you can still measure your legacy analytics alongside your new analytics, which is really, really important because before you were never really able to do that. You were able to download CSV files, but who's actually sort of going to look at the CSV? I'm never going to look at my podcast dashboard and then look at some CSV file on a different screen. It simply doesn't happen. It's just not useful. So let me show you this one. So with every podcast hosting platform, whenever you move podcast hosting, you are able to download everything that you have with respect to analytics as these CSV files. And depending on the hosting platform, it depends on the format that you receive. But we've made this work with every single platform. We've made it work with every single format. We've made it work with every data type, whether you're importing location data, user agent data, so things like do people listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Global Player. We've allowed you to import overview data, and it genuinely doesn't matter the format that this comes in. If you can get the CSV files from your hosting platform, which you can bring them in. So let me show you what that means. Here inside Captivate on the left-hand side, we've got all of our existing data. So this is a demo show, so there's no data because no one's listening. It's just a demo show that I use for this. But we've got all of our tabs: listener behavior, performance comparison, episode overview, and so on and so forth, which is fantastic data. It goes really deep. But we've now got this new legacy analytics tab. And like all good demos, here's something that I prepared earlier. So this is a podcast where I've actually downloaded and I've imported 4 years worth of historical data. So I've had for all intents and purposes, I've had a podcast for 4 years and then decided, you know what, I'm going to move to Captivate. I'm going to change my hosting platform. And all of my data has come in. All of the data can be shown in a line or a bar graph. All of the data can be interrogated across any date range that you wish, which is really, really important because I may want to choose just July and to dive deep into what's been going on there. And it works really well. I can import all of my user agents. I can interrogate those using pie charts. I can switch the graphing capabilities. I can sort all of this data. I can things like country overview. It's all very, very deep data, so it's really powerful stuff. What's fun about this is that the import process is really quick and simple. So just like everything with Captivate, it's very much user interface led. It's very, very simple. It's very, very obvious. And I'm just going to grab an overview of some episodes that I've downloaded from another host. So I've got my episode CSV that I've dragged in. What Captivate will do is it will read this CSV file. It's essentially an Excel file. It will read each column and it will try and figure out, okay, this looks like it might be a date. This looks like it might be a status field. This looks like it might be a number field, aka a download field. And this looks like it might be a text field. So Captivate will figure this out and I can then just decide if that's okay. And then I can decide what I want to do with this data. So I've got all of these columns right here and I can choose what type of data is this? So I could build a report from this CSV based on this publish date column, or based on a category type column, which would be episode title. So if I wanted a graph that said, show me all of my downloads per episode, I could import this using the category type. If I wanted a graph that showed all of my downloads per date, I could push this in through the date type. So it's really, I actually think with this, you get more data than you would get from your previous host, because I could import this file twice, once as a category, once as a date. Whereas in my existing host, I only get that as a date or as a category option. So it's really flexible for people that really get a bit geeky about numbers like I do. And what you'll notice here is that I can choose the data type, and I can choose the data column, and I can tell Captivate exactly what data I want to import and from where, and then I get a preview. All right, so that's what this is going to look like. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use this as a category, and I'm going to go for episode title, which will essentially import all the downloads per episode title. Click on continue, give it a new name, DLs by ep title. And then I can go through and I can just accept that. And Captivate would go through, it would find that, and it would actually just give me a graph right there. And I can separate that out through pie chart, bar chart. I can sort them, and so on and so forth. Now, what's really powerful about this, there's no limit to the size of the data. If you've got a library of 1,000 episodes, it will take just as long as it took me to import 5 episodes, because it's only basic CSV data. It's not big data that needs parsing. So really, really powerful. What's really interesting about this as well is because Captivate is a multi-show platform, so you can have one account, pay one price, and have as many podcasts on there as you want. You can bring all of this data from an entire network. So let's say that you're moving from a hosting platform that charges you per podcast. You can bring in all of your shows, drag them all into one dashboard, network them together, and look at all your legacy analytics together as well. So this is really, really powerful. Now, there's more that I could go into on this one, but that's probably the stretch that I want to give you on the demo, just because I don't want to overwhelm. But it's a really cool feature, mate. Really, really excited about this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the applications for one show or a network of shows, you can really get creative with numbers, which is not easy to do typically with the tools that we have at our disposal. And so is there a few potential use cases that you could mention in terms of like why this information would be valuable to someone?
Yeah, the biggest use case for this, to be honest, Ben, is the idea that if you were to move a host, you generally worry about sponsorships, direct selling sponsorships, even programmatic sponsorships across from a programmatic ad partner. The reason people get concerned about that, and this is the biggest deal, is because if you move today and you're only measuring data from today in your new hosting platform, the capability to sell against your back catalogue is dwindled so much because you simply aren't able to showcase the data that you've built over a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years in a meaningful way. So what you do is you create, number one, friction. If I'm a sponsor and I've got 10 pitch decks to look at, I need to be able to scan your data. So this is a huge deal to be able to go, right, here are my graphs. This is everything. It's not just from a certain date. So that's a huge selling point. The other thing here as well is performance data. You know, if I'm a serious podcaster, which most people are these days, even if you've got a show with low numbers, like those numbers matter to you. It's your show, that's your baby. You want it matters to you. If you can only compare performance from a set date, how do you know if you're improving? How can you analyze all of your episode titles? How can you make sure they're optimized if you're actually only measuring the last 10 episodes or the last 20 episodes? I need to interrogate the library. I've got to go back to the beginning and I've got to see everything in context. So that was actually one of the biggest drivers for us when we did this, was how can serious indie podcasters genuinely take advantage of things that the bigger companies that have got agencies, that have got production assistants, that have got admin assistants that can pull this data together for them. How can the indie benefit from that kind of thing when they're just one person? And this is a real game changer for that. So yeah, very powerful stuff. And I've actually already seen it help people close deals and certainly renew deals because suddenly they've got the wealth of data there they didn't have before.
Yeah, and I think that what you track, you improve, right? And so the ability to actually have this in front of you to then make better decisions. And obviously Captivate is solving one of the biggest problems with podcasting in general, which is growing your show. And you can't really do that unless you know what the tests you're doing are actually returning in terms of feedback and the data. So no, I think that the applications here are huge. I think that's super exciting for the solo podcaster or someone who's running a network. I think that's dope.
Good. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, and it's available on every plan. This is not an advanced tool that's hidden behind any payment. We don't believe in that in Captivate. This is everyone gets this, whether you join us on a free trial, whether you join us as a veteran podcaster or someone that's new to the space and looking to move hosts early on in your podcasting career. This is available to everyone. And we'll even, if you find yourself thinking CSV files data, it's a little overwhelming, that's okay. You can send the files to our support team and we'll do the import for you as well. So the key thing here is just making sure that you have that data.
Sweet. Awesome, Mark. Well, as always, we'd love to have you on the channel. And if anyone wants to give this a go and give Captivate a try, it's linked down below. You can go give it a try for yourself to see all the different tools that Captivate offers, and including this analytics transfer tool as well.